Hi and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I hope everyone who's watching this video is in a good health and having a nice day. So in this video, our group member will explain and talk about persuasive speech. Did you guys know what is persuasive speech? And did you guys know what the importance of the persuasive speech? So before we start, I want to introduce our group members first. So me myself Siti Hajar binti Ahmad ini, and then Muhammad Asfar bin Abdul Rahman, and then Nur Alia Safia binti Nazri, Ifah Salihah binti Zulaidi, and lastly Nurul Fatihah binti Cik Umar. So let's get started with the definition of persuasion first. Generally, persuasion is the action or process of persuading someone or being persuaded to do or believe something. But in public speaking, persuasion is the process of creating, reinforcing, or changing people's belief or action. Persuasive speech also intends to influence the belief, the attitudes, the value, and acts of others, which the speakers attempt to influence people to think and behave in a particular way. So what is the importance of persuasive speech? So actually, the ability to speak persuasively is beneficial in everything, from personal relationship to career aspiration to civic deliberation. Secondly, the job of persuasive speaker is that of an advocate trying to affect the attitudes, belief, or action of the listeners. So there is three kinds of persuasive speeches in public speaking, which is speeches of fact, speeches of value, and lastly speeches of policy. So this will be explained later.
Why some of persuasive speeches deal with question of fact? First, persuasive speeches on question of fact seek to persuade an audience to accept the speaker's view of the fact on a particular issue. Second, a persuasive speech on a question of fact is different from an informative speech. What is the difference between persuasive speech and informative speech? For the informative speech, it is aimed to give information as impartially as possible, not to argue for a particular point of view. Unlike speeches to inform, persuasive speech on question of fact take a partisan view of the information and try to persuade the audience to accept the speaker's view about the information. Most of persuasive speeches on question of fact are organized topically. How? First, in such speeches, each main point will present a reason why the audience should agree with the speakers. Second, as in other speeches using topical order, persuasive speeches on question of fact should subdivide the topic logically and consistently.
Now let's move on to persuasive speech that need to deal with question of value. A proposition of value is the one that asserts the speaker's sense of value of right and wrong. It discusses good and bad, just and unjust, the beautiful and ugly. Value claims make judgment, and the readers need to evaluate the evidence and assumptions supporting such claim. Value claims prove that some ideas, action, or condition is good or bad, right or wrong, worthwhile or worthless. This may include argument about moral, aesthetic, and philosophical topics. So for speeches on question of value are usually organized topically. First main point establishes the standard for the speaker's value judgment. The second main point applies those standards to the speech topic. You can also support your proposition by conducting research. For example, in a speech about capital punishment, you will probably find a data about execution of people later found to be innocent due to DNA evidence. And as you establish the truth of your proposition, you will impact both attitudes and beliefs of the audience.
So now move on to the question of policy. One focus of persuasive speech is a question of policy which advocate a change of from the status quo or the way things are today. So it means that it's deal with specific cause, deciding whether something should be done or should not be done. There are two types of question of policy. The first type seek to gain passive agreement that a policy is desirable, necessary, and practical, while the second type seek to motivate the audience to take immediate action. Question of policy focus on defining a problem and a solution by covering three basic points. The first one is the need. The need is we need to convince the audience that there is a problem that need to be addressed, or must prove that there is a need for a change. The second one is the plan. We must inform the audience that it is not good enough to just sit around and complain, so that we must offer a specific plan that will solve the need. The last one is the practically. We must show that the plan that we give can succeed and workable, that probably will solve the need without creating new problem. There are 4 patterns of organization especially effective for persuasive speech on questions of policy. It is problem solution order, problem cost solution order, comparative advantage order, and Monroe's motivate sequence. The first pattern, which is a problem solution order, the first main point show that the need for a new policy by proving the existence of a serious problem. The second main point present a plan for solving the problem and demonstrates it practically.
Let's move on to the continuation of the question of policy with the second pattern, which is the problem cost solution order. How to do it, or what are the steps? Now, the first one is that the first main point shows the existence of the problem. Meanwhile, in the second main point, it should analyzes the causes of the problem, and in the third main point, it should presents the solution of the problem. Now we move on to the third pattern, which is the comparative advantages order. This pattern is most effective when the audience already agrees that there is a need for a new policy, and the speaker devotes each main point to explain why his or her plan is preferable to other solutions rather than dwelling with the needs only. So let's move on to our last pattern, which is the Monroe's motivated sequences, and this sequence consists of 5 steps which follow the psychological of persuasion. Now, the first step is to gain the attention of the audience. It is a very important first move in giving a speech or presentation. The second one is to show the need for the change, and the third one, to satisfy the sense of need by presenting the plan that will eventually remedy the need. And the fourth step is to visualize the benefits as well as the practicality of the plan. And the fifth step, or the last step, is to urge the audience to take the action in support of the plan.